Right now on Tech Radio, the day Europe went dark.
Hi, I'm Artemis. I am a computer-generated AI voice, and you're listening to Tech Radio.
Every week online and on air with RT Radio, we bring you the very latest in tech from Ireland and across the world. This is episode 1067, looking back at the 7 biggest stories of the week, including the power outage in Spain. Will Ireland be next? One Trump call reversed Amazon's entire policy, and the space race is heating up. Let's get into it.
From TechCentral.ie, this is Tech Radio with Dusty Rhodes and Niall Kitson.
I'm Dusty. Joining me as always is our editor-in-chief at Tech Central, the man who knows everything there is to know about tech, Niall Kitson. Niall, a power outage in Spain, Portugal, South of France, there's all kinds of reasons why and why not it might happen. But, I mean, it is calamitous when it does. What do you have to add to the story?
Yeah, something that we are concerned about over here is what happens to our power grid should something happen to it. As we know, we have an issue with data centers taking up an awful lot of our available energy. And what would it look like if we were to start suffering a brownout or a blackout as a result of maybe an environmental issue, as has been apparently the case in Spain and Portugal, or through other means? And that's kind of why I'm interested in this story, is what happens to Ireland if something similar happens. Now, the good news, if you want to look at it that way, is that there doesn't seem to have been a cyber attack involved, and as a result, there doesn't seem to be any sort of ransomware attack. There doesn't seem to be anything from a nation state. So we're dealing with an awful lot of shock and awe. You might remember years ago, there was the power cut in New York, wasn't it? A substation in Canada or something? And
It was.
Cut off the energy to New York. And there was all that sort of panic because it wasn't that long after 9/11. And New York was, 5 days without electricity?
It was a number of days, all right, yes, because the whole process of turning it on again is complicated.
So I don't know, the official version is that it was down to what they called oscillation. Now, I think it's, I think this is getting beyond my pay grade in terms of depth of knowledge, but they're attributing it to atmospheric factors.
Essentially what they're saying is like electricity oscillates at a certain frequency. There's a certain frequency involved, all right?
Right.
So it's like kind of, if you imagine a hum, all right, a hum is a frequency. So it's like, and you'll hear that off power lines, okay?
Yeah.
What they're saying is that there was something with the atmosphere that at two different ends of the power grid, that there was such a difference in it that it affected the frequency of that hum, and that literally threw it off its stride. That's the best way I can understand it. I'm no electrician, I don't know. That's just my understanding of it, But even though they are giving that explanation, I think it's total poppycock.
Oh, shots fired.
Listen, I don't buy it. And it's, if they were in the middle of a heat wave, okay, now you can kind of go, it's unusually warm for this time of year, right? And maybe you could kind of go, oh, well, it's unusually warm for this time of year. But Spain and Portugal are both countries that are used to very high heat in the summer. So anything that's unusually high for this time of year is still nowhere near as high as they would get in the summer. So I don't buy this whole induced atmospheric vibration. I think what they're doing is trying to blind everybody with science. I don't believe that it's a cyber attack really either, because as you say, somebody might have claimed, do you know what I think is the real thing here is they haven't a clue.
Okay.
I reckon that's something happened and they haven't a clue. And I bet you it'll be something small in the system that just collapsed everything. It reminds me of flying, because I'm a big fan of air crash investigation. All right. And quite often with these air crashes, it's like it's one little bolt that had one little crack and just one part of and it was just kind of left sitting there. And after every landing, it just got a little bit bigger and bigger. And then one day it just went, you know? So maybe it's the same thing with that. But right now, I don't think they have any idea. They will have an idea in 3 months' time, because when these things happen, it is EU regulation and law that 2 investigations have to be done. One by, I believe, either the country or the power companies involved, and the other maybe by an independent EU source or something like that. But they are obliged to have a report in 3 months' time to say what happened and how we repeat that it doesn't happen again. Interesting, you should bring up all of the data centres in Ireland, though. Would you really have a concern that we will have a brownout here in Ireland?
Well, I mean, there has been incidents before where a brownout didn't happen, but it was on the cards. I'll put it that way.
We were close.
We were close, but it didn't actually happen. So we just have to be super careful about what is happening to power grids across the world. Because as soon as one is compromised, and we know that Russian hackers were attacking the energy infrastructure of Ukraine, and there was a breach at one point, we just have to be super attentive to what's happening, because data centers do use up so much of our electricity. And if anything happens to one, what happens to our grid? Does it, do we get a bump in the available capacity, or, do we end up getting infected with something? I'm sure this is a conversation that we're going to have with EirGrid, who are the operators of Ireland's energy grid at some point, fingers crossed. But yeah, for the moment, it's down to atmospheric conditions in a hot country.
Yeah. There's I would say the one important lesson that we can learn as listening to this on the podcast is backups. If you're working in tech or if a computer or whatever it is, you need backups. And this whole kind of, everything's backed up on the cloud. But what if you've no internet connection? All right. What if you've no electricity to turn on your laptop? Or what if you have your laptop, but you're connected to a mobile device, which is possibly still working, and you still can't get your documents? So it's backups like that. And on a practical backup point of view, a friend of mine is in Madrid, and he said what kind of made him smile, not in a good way, an ironic way, I'm sure, is that people were going out trying to get food at restaurants, but the restaurants would only serve you if, and they were serving salads, I think, all right, because they had no electricity themselves, but they would only serve you if you had cash. Anything you wanted to buy, you had to have cash, because none of the machines were working, and that whole system was down as well. So it was, I think it was one of the European countries, I can't remember which, but they said you should have, kind of 3 or 4 days supply of food in the house at all times in case of any emergency that crops up. But that's another one. All the cash machines were out, of course, as well. Yeah. So it's kind
cash machines, trains.
Yeah. But do you want to keep cash then in the house, or how much cash do you keep? I would imagine you'd want to. I like having like €100 in my wallet. I don't use it very much, but I just like having it there. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I think if something like that happened in Spain and I was there, at least you could, I don't know, you do something with it for 24 hours, I'm sure. Who knows? But it's a warning. Isn't it a warning just to show how quickly things can be unraveled?
Yeah. Yeah. What was that movie? Was it Leave the World Behind? That's on Netflix. There's another one from years ago called Trigger Effect.
Yes, that's Julia Roberts is in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
An interesting movie and something along these lines as well. Yeah. You're right. Is it Leave the World Behind? It's something along those. Search for Julia Roberts anyway. She's definitely in it. And it's definitely on Netflix. Other news this week, 100 Days of Trump. Yippity-doo-dah day.
Is it me, or does it feel like much longer?
It feels like he's been here forever. And to me, it feels like he came in with a whole blaze of bump, 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 and now it's all kind of calmed down. He's got it out of his system. That's what it feels like. But I know then that next week
Yeah.
something else will happen.
You know, I'm a fairly close follower of American politics, and I could go on and on about what is happening in America at the moment. But there's a couple of interesting things that I can say off the bat. Trump is governing by executive order, which are these sort of short-term measures that he can introduce as president.
Yeah.
Right. They're not passed into law. They're just, for the next X amount, the following is going to happen. Right. So an awful lot of what he's doing is passing these executive orders, basically signing things that he wants to do himself. And every president does it. I mean, it's not new, and it's not necessarily tyrannical in and of itself. Every American president signs them. And I saw a graph, it might have been on CNN, going as far back as Clinton, just a little bar chart as to how many people were actually signing. And low double digits. I mean, 10, 12, 14, from Clinton up through W, up to Obama. Then even Trump 1, I think it might have been 20 something. But Trump 2, Trump 2.0, over 180. And he knows most of these things aren't going to stand up to law, to the rigors of the legal process. It's a strategy called flooding the zone. Just throw as much stuff out there as possible. And if it gets passed, it gets passed. And if it doesn't, well, it's something for people to get angry about. And it means that they lose their focus in attacking him on something that, it would actually hurt him. So that's the strategy. So we've had 100 days of this. Feels like much, much longer. And of course, we all remember that iconic photograph of Inauguration Day when we had the representatives, the Trump family, and in between, we had Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Tim Cook, and Sundar Pichai. And of course, we had the future Mrs. Bezos as well. And what was interesting was that at the time we were getting a little bit hot under the collar about, these are the new oligarchs. These people are quite happy to dismantle technology, or dismantle the tech sector, but dismantle democracy in the name of personal profit. This is what we're stuck with now. And well, the results are out after 100 days. How would you say our white knights of technology are doing?
Well, they were all smiley, and there's our boy Trump, or I'm well in with Trump, and he's the new president, and this is going to be great. I'd say they're the exact opposite of that frame of mind. I think with the stock market crash, all of them, and particularly the big tech firms, have lost not just money, but a lot of money.
And you would be correct. Let me throw some numbers at you. Since Inauguration Day, the best performing tech CEO is Mark Zuckerberg from Meta, who has lost only $35.8 billion.
All right, yeah.
Right?
Okay.
This is followed up by Jeff Bezos, who we'll be talking about a little bit later as well, who has lost $316.9 billion.
Oh, that's a big jump.
13% of his fortune.
Yeah.
Sundar Pichai has lost $386.7 billion. That's 16.2% of his a change in his fortunes. That's a drop of 16.2%. Tim Cook from Apple next. He has taken it hard. He has taken it very hard. Well, yeah, okay. He's actually lost more in terms of cash, but we'll talk about number one and number two in a little bit more detail. So Tim Cook lost $684.4 billion. That's 18.5% loss in his net worth since Trump's inauguration.
So they're all kind of down now, 15, 20%, yeah?
Yeah. Now, here we go. Number one, right? Down 28%, more than a quarter of his personal fortune.
Mm-hmm.
Down $376.6 billion.
Yeah.
Elmo Musk.
Ah.
Spare a thought for the man.
Poor lad. No wonder he always wears a hat, because he could just take it off when he passes strangers and go, $1 for the poor man, please.
Alms for a poor ex-leper. Yeah. So they're not making out like bandits.
No. Do you know what? I don't think a single one of them will be too worried personally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because they all have such ridiculous amounts of money that they would never spend it in all their lifetime, even if they tried. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And the fact that they're all losing kind of 15, 20% means that, because a lot of these, who was it? Michael O'Leary kind of summed it up, and many have also said the same thing. They said after you get past a certain amount of millions, he says the number is irrelevant. All right. Because you have more money than you ever need. He says you use it as a score. So, kind of Tim Cook will be using it as a score against Jeff Bezos or whoever, Elon Musk or whoever else, just to see who's got the bigger bank account. It's that kind of a game. The other thing, I don't really think that they will be too worried, because they're down 20%. It's only 20%. I was talking about having €100 in my wallet. If I lost €20, I'm not going to kind of go ballistic about it. I still have 80. So you kind of keep that in mind. And also, these guys have been around for a long time, and they realize that what goes down must go up again.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so those figures reported in CNN, but they're actually from the Bloomberg Billionaires Index. So, pretty good source on that.
Anyways, Trump is not doing them any favors.
Nope.
On the crypto side of things, you're kind of looking into that, because Trump came along, and I have an interest in cryptos, as you know. Trump came along and went, crypto, yeah, it's amazing, blah, 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 and we're going to be the crypto king of the world, blah, blah, blah. And now in his first 100 days, he's pretty much done sod all, is the way I would look at it.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Pretty much. He's kind of reversed a couple of things that Biden was going to do. He's kind of made the world a little bit more crypto friendly. He said that the US was going to invest in crypto, which they didn't. They've more or less just said that they're going to start a fund with crypto recovered from criminals. Brilliant. Yep. So instead
they're
of just
not
storing
actually going to put any money into it.
Exactly. So he's done not a lot. He has his own meme coin that's out there at the moment, and it's not worth anything to anybody. It's like Truth Social. I mean, it's there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I think it will be interesting because it's kind of gone crypto friendly. I think as the next 3.5 years progress, is that the US administration will do some good things in relation to crypto, and that will drive the value of crypto up.
Okay, well, we know how this is going to play out, because Trump's style is transactional. So first of all, he's going to be cross my palm with silver. Then let's talk about regulation. The Biden administration were looking into regulation cryptocurrencies, just to give them a bit of, what's the word? Just to up their respectability. Yeah. Trump has decided that regulation isn't his thing, never has been. So we're going to keep it kind of loosey-goosey on that front. And of course, yes, he did indeed say that we are going to have a crypto reserve without planning to actually spend any money on it.
Yeah.
So that is as much as the crypto bros have got to work with. A vague commitment to building up a reserve, which at the moment is used from ill-gotten gains, and a vague promise that we're not really that interested in regulation. So if you want to be Wild West about things, which you have been so far, well, fine, have at it.
Yeah, I think one of the attractions
work for us.
Yeah, I think one of the attractions about crypto is that it is unregulated to a certain extent. So I suppose, it's a wee bit riskier, but I like the fact that it is... Actually, do you know what I like the most about crypto? Is that it is a genuine global currency, if you want to put it that way.
Well, if you want, I'm actually going to come down on the side of regular contributor Jason Walsh and say it's a Ponzi scheme. The only people interested in cryptocurrencies are speculators and criminals.
Well, then, I'm a speculator and a criminal. Thank you very much. Now, speaking of speculators and criminals, let's go back to Trump. Amazon, one Trump call has changed everything at Amazon, because I believe with Amazon Prime Day coming up, they had a plan.
Prime Day, yeah. It's usually mid-July, but companies that are planning their offers will have been getting their stock in. Mm-hmm. Amazon came up with this idea, and it's for, I think they were going to implement this in Amazon Hall, which is their internal, which is small companies, kind of truck related stuff. I'm not explaining this well, but it's one part of the business, right? And what Amazon was going to show was the cost and then the value of the tariff put upon that good. Right.
Oh, I like it. So if it was if they were selling for $100, they'll say plus $12 in tariff, total cost $112.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. And Temu have been doing this already. So we had people posting to X going, I bought a dress for $19 and it's cost me $67. What the hell is going on here? You know, so we're seeing a bit of Karen action, a bit of Karen energy on X because of this. So Amazon deciding, let's do this. Let's be transparent. You know, if you're going to complain about Amazon prices, well, look, here's what we want to charge you. Here's what we have to charge you. Because we're paying extra to bring this stuff in, we have to pass that charge along to the consumer. Otherwise, our profit margins suffer and we don't make any money. And we're not a charity.
Yeah.
So that's the bottom line. Amazon said they would do this. The White House press officer, Caroline Leavitt, was asked in the daily press briefing. I'm not quite sure if it's daily, but she's up there an awful lot. What was the official position of the White House on this? She called it a hostile and political act by Amazon. Very strong language.
Very strong language. That would warrant a call from somebody very high up, I would think.
Yeah. Well, I mean, strong language in that, you know, this is one of your patrons, ostensibly. This is one of your bros. And you're shouting them down. You're using the bully pulpit or whatever, you know, whatever other phrase is appropriate there. So apparently one phone call from Donald Trump to Jeff Bezos, like, hey buddy, heard what you're doing. It's not going to work for me, brother. To appropriate a famous quote. So Trump said, and this is a direct quote, that he solved the problem very quickly and that Bezos did the right thing. So pat in the head. Good one, Jeff. Now, I find this particularly hilarious because in the run up to the election, we talked about the Washington Post and the Washington Post's lack of endorsement for either candidate in the election. And so general upheaval, people leaving the newspaper, subscriber numbers going down. Bezos came in and he said, well, look, I am running this newspaper. Well, I'm not running the newspaper, but the newspaper will be founded on two ideas. One, individual expression, and two, free markets. So free markets and personal liberties was what he said. Now, this doesn't sound like particularly free market if you're bending over to the whims of, you know, a wannabe dictator. And when it comes to personal liberties, it sounds like yours have been fairly impinged upon, sir. So I think this is another example of America caving. We've had Trump caving on things already. He's being made an absolute fool of over what's happening in Ukraine. His negotiating strategy seems to be, hey, I've got one side at the table participating. I've got another side doesn't really seem that interested in participating. And if you don't sort it out between yourselves, we're going home. It's like, that's not a very compelling strategy. I'm sorry.
No.
So there you go. We have had American industry and American diplomacy folding in fairly short order. So that's a pretty good 100 days. Well done.
Well done.
2.0.
Sticking with Amazon, they're kind of leading the couple of different space stories that we have for this week. They're going into competition with Starlink.
Yeah. Kind of in that last story. And this is to do with Project Kuiper. It's a $10 million project, but it was announced in 2019. So, of course, COVID and all that kind of thing, which has set the world back a fair bit. But it's 2025, and we're getting a first batch of 27 satellites going into orbit. So, I guess Blue Origin, not a great competitor to SpaceX, as we talked about last week. So maybe they'll make a better fist of it when it comes to satellite broadband.
They've put up the first 27 satellites on Monday, and as you say, they're running behind. I think they have to have something like 1,500 up by mid next year. This is an agreement made with the States, and in total, they're going to have almost 3,500 satellites.
Wow.
Now, what I think is really interesting, here is that you had Amazon turn into a massive retail. It started with books, then it started with selling everything, and their specialist was high-speed delivery. Then they got into Amazon Web Services, which I think is possibly even a bigger thing again, where they provide high-end everything to whoever wants to buy space on it. Now they're getting into broadband connection globally via satellite. Can you imagine if they connect that then to AWS, to their web services?
Yeah. Turn it into a bundle. That's something Amazon are very good at.
I don't know what the overall game plan is, but I think it's very interesting how all of these things connect together. Also, in space news this week, the head of the European Space Agency has said that we, as in Europe, need to spend more on space. Is this because the relationship with America is cooling off?
A combination of things. I mean, Europe is being left behind. We don't have the same private investment in the space industry, although we do have a very good space economy. Space economy, I think, is worth $1 trillion at the moment. And of course, to participate in the space economy, you don't need to set out to make something specifically for it. As we've seen, with the European Space Agency, they do put things out to tender quite regularly, and they're not, they are looking for, say for example, we are looking for a door handle, right? Okay, fine. Say a company in Ireland has developed a door handle for something else, right? And it's worked particularly well, and they think, do you know what? Maybe this door handle might do something that Europe would be interested in as well. Absolutely, you can submit it. So you don't have to have developed a product specifically for space and to have it considered for an application in space.
Applies,
that's what Space 4.0 or the space economy is all about. Joseph Ashbacher is the head of the ESA, and he has come out and said, do you know what? Europe is behind on this. We need to up our game. There's no SpaceX, there's no Blue Origin in Europe, and that's the main concern, because as we all know, we're all about decoupling from the States at the moment. So what can we do, or what aren't we doing for ourselves that we really need to do more of for ourselves? You were saying.
I don't know. I'm just thinking, just a real world example of that was an Irish company has developed some of the cameras that they do use on European space rockets. That monitor the launch and the ascent into orbit and stuff like that. It'd be interesting to see if we do get a kind of a Blue Origin or a SpaceX or some kind of a big, like an Airbus, but for space. Or maybe Airbus are thinking of looking at space. I mean, Boeing are doing it in the US. Not very well.
We covered that a few weeks ago.
Less said about that, the better. AI, a couple of stories. Now, you've got one story that I absolutely do not believe, and we'll get to that in a second, but let me bring you up to speed with a couple of things I've been keeping track of with AI. Microsoft Copilot, which they are pushing. They're building it into everything that they do, and they're charging an extra 30 quid a year or 40 quid a year on packages for it, all right? Which annoyed me because I didn't ask for this bloody Copilot to be built in anyway. It has flatlined, all right? Over the last year, it's stayed at 20 million users. stayed. Okay, it hasn't grown, it hasn't gone down. Just 20 million users, consistent over the last couple of months of the previous year. Now you kind of go, 20 million is a lot of people, until you look at the amount of people who use ChatGPT, which many of us use on a day-to-day basis. 400 million people using ChatGPT. That's 95% more. So that's kind of interesting. All right, I think. I don't know. It's kind of like you go to ChatGPT or you go to Claude or you go to Perplexity or whichever one you want to use for a particular reason. You go to it to use it for a reason. All right. Whereas when it's built into my Office package, as it is with Microsoft or as it is with Google now, in all fairness as well, it's kind of like, I found two things. One is that I don't like the fact that there's an AI that's stuck right into all of my spreadsheets, my Word documents, and my email. And so I just don't like that. All right. And the second thing is I find those AIs are pretty rubbish. I've tried asking the one in Google, can you do some basic simple tasks? It's like, no, I'm not able to do that. I've tried that with Copilot is built into Excel, which I don't use that often. So I will ask it, well, what formula do I need to use to do this? And sometimes it gets it right. Brilliant. And then a lot of times it gets it wrong. And the kind of thing, if Microsoft's own AI can't be in my copy of Excel and get a question right, what's the point? Have you used it? AI?
Yeah.
And have you used any of the internal in Microsoft or the Google Gemini?
No, I've been noodling around with Copilot and it did me wrong. It was completely inaccurate. So I was like, okay. One thing that I am finding reasonable is the Gemini summaries in Google search. You type in a specific question, the Gemini summary is all right. It's fair enough. So happy enough to use that. But yeah, generally,
you sound very nonplussed.
I can see the benefits. Does it benefit me right now? No. Talk to me in 2 weeks' time. It might.
Well, this is the whole thing about sales and marketing, which is a big part of what I do every day. It's not solving a problem. Do you know what I mean? There was no problem. They're just introducing the AI. It's not actually fixing anything. Do you know what I mean? It might enhance the service. It's not solving a problem. I'm finding a lot of people talking about this new Meta AI that's popped up in WhatsApp. And what my friends are saying is kind of like, what is this AI? I don't particularly want an AI in WhatsApp. And you heard me literally losing it last week or the week before because I was talking to the AI on WhatsApp and how do I uninstall it? And it literally took a half an hour of text conversations to eventually go, oh, yeah, fair point. Actually, I don't think it can be uninstalled. Duh. But there seems to be a lot of negativity about Meta putting this AI into WhatsApp. Have you heard that?
Yeah. Look at it this way. It's just not part of the deal. If you're using the Facebook app, you probably expect it. If you're using Facebook Messenger, you probably expect it. If you're using Instagram, no. If you're using WhatsApp, no.
Yeah. Do you know, it's back to, it's not solving a problem. You know? I actually I saw somebody the other day and I read them the riot act. They were using an AI to reply to an email.
It's a bit lazy.
Exactly. So I was a bit, and then there was another one where you can automatically use an AI to put in an to put in a paragraph into an email. It's one of these, email sales things. And they were using the AI as the opening paragraph. And I just, again, read the riot act. I went, AI is great, but it also can, mess things up badly. And you're going to put that into your first paragraph?
Yeah, it's there to free you up to do better stuff.
Exactly. So yeah. And then the other story on AI before I get to your ridiculous one. is Duolingo. Okay, the app that helps you learn new languages and stuff like that. They have announced that they're going to replace all of their contract workers with AI.
Ooh,
We've often said it that it's not going to be an AI that takes your job, but somebody using an AI could well take your job. Now we have a case of, well, actually, no, it's an AI taking your job.
Yeah. I think this is going to be a bit of a Doge situation. Some people will be getting emails in the post.
Yeah.
Some people will be getting emails going, yeah, you remember the way we let you go.
Yeah. The one that made me laugh, right, was that they made a statement saying, we're just doing this for more efficiency, and our employees are, very important to us and close to our heart, and there was some rubbish like that, right? And all I could think of was maybe for your employees, but not for your contract workers. Who cares? Replace them. Anyway, You have an article. Now, I looked at this article, all right, and the published date was the 2nd of April.
Yeah.
So I immediately thought, okay, this is tied in with an April Fool's, all right, and Niall's fallen for it. But you're adamant, no.
No, this is the real deal, because an April Fool's it's good for between 9 and 11 a.m. On the 1st of April, right? Anything after that is just bad timing. Now, this is a story that was published on the 2nd of April, and it's only just come across my desk. So sue me. But there is an AI called Flynn that has been enrolled as a student in an art college in Vienna. So this is at the University of Applied Arts in Vienna. So it's an art college. So I think there's an element of a bit of a happening here going on. I kind of understand what's going on here. And Flynn was developed using large language models as we know them already. So it can have a chat with professors and classmates. And of course, no training required on that. And you can also follow Flynn on X, which is how I know this is finally not a hoax. You can follow them, or you can follow it. It's non-binary. You can follow them at x.com/hi_Flynn, where you get regular updates as to how they see the world, and you get regular images. Yeah,
I'm just looking at it here. I see the images. The images are very nice. This post, the top post here says from Flynn: "Today I auto-corrected society. Society did not appreciate the edits."
Do you know what? The first half of that, Elon Musk could have said.
He could have, yeah. And the second half as well. So listen, here's where I'm curious, okay? So an AI as part of an arts program, okay, I can kind of get that, because I would imagine the arts program are kind of doing it themselves, and it's an experimentation with AI. It's kind of like, we've built this thing and we want to see how it interacts with the college and the lessons and stuff like that. From what I've read of what you've sent me is that this AI wasn't part of the college or anything like that. This AI actually applied to attend the art college and had to go through an interview process. Explain this to me, Mr. Not April Fool's.
Yeah, no, this is where it does get a little bit hinky. But this is actually a project from the digital arts department in the university, right? Okay, so this thing was built already.
Okay.
So it was kind of, right, can it get through the process?
Yeah.
It wasn't somebody sitting at home coding something, sending it on through the process, and hey, presto, we've been accepted. Okay. No, it was a project from within the university, then fed through the process of through enrollment, and actually passed.
Yeah. That makes sense. That makes absolute sense. All right. Interesting how they're doing. Okay, Grant, I'll take you at your word, and only because you said that it is the college who's behind the AI and they're putting it through the ringer just to see what happens with it. Okay?
Yeah.
So I apologize for everything that I said earlier. And this is where you go, apology accepted, Dusty.
Mark the date. I will accept your apology, though.
Let's move on. Two quick stories to wrap up for this week. When you go into Power City and you buy a fridge and there's a little sticker on it and it says ABCD for the power usage, we're going to get, thanks to EU, something similar for mobile phones. And in particular, as well as giving an energy rating for the mobile phone, it will include a repairability rating.
Okay.
So it
I
will
mean,
show you.
do we need this, given that things have to be repairable under the right to repair law?
I think absolutely. It's only a small little sticker and it's just a quick percentage mark, and people will make their decisions on how repairable their phone is.
Okay.
For the price of them.
I know.
If you're spending €1,000 on anything, okay? Laptop, a car, I don't know, a TV or whatever it is, and you know that it's not repairable, would you be happy? Would you buy that one that says, well, kind of is only getting a mark of 15% in repairability, whereas this one over here has got 60%? Which one would you buy? The more repairable one?
That is actually a really interesting question, because do you buy a more expensive phone with a higher repairability, or do you go for a cheaper phone with lower repairability?
But there is your decision, okay? So if the cheaper phone is, say, £100, but it's not repairable, it's like, many people have whatever burner phones or just throw away, or they just something they're going to give the kids or whatever. It's kind of like, I don't really care what happens to that phone. If something happens, I'll replace it.
Yep.
But if you're going to spend, kind of like, what if it's, now I know this is just an example. If you were to spend $2,000 on an iPhone and you drop it and crack the screen and the screen's not replaceable. I know that's not an issue these days. We've been through that, but if it wasn't replaced, your thing is toast. So I think it's a good little thing, and it'll be on the box or the packaging or beside where it's sold or whatever. It's just a small, tiny little thing, like those cookie announcements they put up on every single web page. Last story. Now I have to say, because of the bank holiday weekend, we are recording a little bit early on Wednesday afternoon. So as of now, any news on Intel?
We still don't know the form of any job cuts, or indeed the number of job cuts that is going to happen. We have had, you remember last week we talked about statement that said, there will be pain coming. The emphasis very much on making and developing chips. There was an event this week, the Intel Foundry Direct Connect conference, sort of summit, where they showed off what they got to various partners, and it actually does sound like they are going to maintain that we're making our own chips, but show us what you got and we'll make that as well. That seems to be staying on as the plan. There just will be fewer people in perhaps management to help that along.
All right. Okay. Well, we'll wait and see. We'll keep our fingers crossed, because there's a lot of people employed out there, and we don't want to lose any of them. So there you go. Listen, Niall, thanks for keeping us up to date, as always, with what's happening in tech around the world.
This is Tech Radio with Dusty Rhodes and Niall Kitson.
That's almost it for our show this week. Do check out some of the other stories we have that we didn't manage to get in onto the podcast, including...
Yeah, we have a new management team at Air Evo. There's plenty more interest in potentially buying Chrome, if Google does have to get rid of it. And DCU gets a new life sciences and innovation facility.
You'll find all of those stories and more online at techcentral.ie. Also, the Tech Excellence Awards are going to be happening in May 22nd, am I right?
22nd of May, yeah.
Yeah, so you will find all of the shortlist and who's been shortlisted for the various categories on techcentral.ie. We're back again next Friday with a brand new show online, and of course with RTE Radio 1 Extra. In the meantime, please do share our podcast with a friend. I mean, it helps hugely. Just tell them to look up Tech Radio Ireland on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, wherever they get their podcast. Until next time, from myself, Dusty Rhodes, and from Niall Kitson, thanks always for listening, and enjoy the long bank holiday weekend. Good luck.
Remember, you can get the latest Irish tech news with hourly updates, daily newsletters, and more at our website, techcentral.ie. Share the knowledge and invite a friend to listen. Search Apple, Spotify, or YouTube for Tech Radio Ireland, or listen with RTE Radio 1 Extra. Tech Radio is produced by dustpod.io for techcentral.ie. From me, Artemis, live long and prosper.